Hello job seekers, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to avoid identity theft through the job seeking process. I wish there was something that we didn't have to cover for you, but it is important, and there are individuals that unfortunately do get their systems compromised during the job seeking process. I don't want that to happen to you. So today we're going to cover through some basic things that you need to make sure you're in alignment with when you're going through this process of job seeking, so you don't have your information stolen by somebody else. Okay, let's get started. As always, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, I really hope you'll consider taking a moment and doing that now. Also, ring that bell for notifications so you'll find out about more great content that we have coming out. And if you feel this video is helpful in the end, please give us that thumbs up as it helps our channel. Where I'd like to begin with our session today is talking about the many systems that require you to create a profile in order to access a certain company's website and their job postings. It'll ask you sometimes to upload your resume or to complete a questionnaire that gives information and data about you. Now, for almost all of these systems, they do require that you do a user ID and a password. And some of these systems are more secure than others, right? They're only as secure as the overarching system that company has. And there's also the danger that some companies are very prone to cyber attacks, and data is stolen in data breaches that occur because of their high profile. So you don't want your information stolen as part of those data breaches. So one of the things I absolutely recommend to any job seeker that is creating a profile in one of these systems is to have a completely separate password than any other password you're going to use for any of your personal information. You want a password that is just used for your job seeking activities. If you're really good about this, you'll actually have a separate password for each one of those different systems that you're doing. Now, I know that can sound overwhelming, trying to keep track of all these passwords and such, but the more you make your data individual for each of these systems, the better off you actually can be, because then if one of them is compromised, they don't have your password for all the rest. So if you're one of those people that is creating, 100 profiles for different companies, and it is overwhelming, at least at a minimum, make sure that you are using a separate password for your job seeking activities than you are for anything else. Let's take a moment now to speak about releasing of non-relevant data. There are a lot of times where different systems will ask you through the job seeking process for data that is not relevant to the job that you're applying. And that's usually when you know you're hitting some kind of scam website. It's going to ask you questions like, what is your mother's maiden name? What was the street that you grew up on? Any data that, when you think about the rest of the systems that you use in your personal life, that they use that data when they're trying to secure your password. If somebody's asking you that information in the job search process, my recommendation is don't give it to them. That is data that is commonly used when they're trying to change passwords in other systems, and you don't want to provide any non-relevant information to somebody who might be using it for not a great reason. So to help you, we've put together a list of ones that I think you shouldn't be releasing. They're non-relevant to jobs. So I'm going to show you that list right now, and hopefully this helps. Now, I know this information that's on your screen looks very arbitrary, but what this is the most common questions that are utilized when you're doing a password recovery. So let's say for your bank, you've forgotten your password for your online banking. A lot of times through those different password recovery systems, they're going to have had you fill out questions like this set here, which will then reset your password. All of this data on your screen does not apply to you as a job seeker and should not be part of that job seeking process, so do not release it. Okay, so let's talk about the data that is on your resume. There is a lot of schools of thought on this, and you do need to do what you feel most comfortable with, but I am going to tell you from my side what I think is the preferred method. So this mainly is around your address. Some people say that you should not put your first address, which is the street number and the street name, and others think you shouldn't put that or the second part of your address even, which is the city, state, and zip code. It's a big debate that's still going on today. And so here's my take on it. I completely think you should not put the first one of your address. Again, that's the street number and the street name. And here's why. Because unfortunately, people can pinpoint you exactly where you live. And I don't think that data is relevant to the positions that you're applying for. I, however, do think it's a good idea to put the second level of your address, which is that city, state, and zip code, on your resume. And here's why. A lot of companies and a lot of recruiters are very sensitive to the fact that with this global workforce that we have now, you get people applying for jobs from all over the world. And that's a good thing, right? But what it causes is recruiters and companies get very worried of, I can't afford relocation for this position, or I'm only really interested at the moment of looking at my local population until I decide if I can't find somebody there, then I'll open it up. Well, when you don't have a city, state, zip on there, they don't know if you're local or not. And it used to be very easy in the US, you could tell where somebody was based on their area code. That's not the case anymore. Area codes now, if you had a cell phone in one city and you wanted to bring it with you to the next city and port that number, you can do it. So you might live in Houston, Texas, and have an area code on your cell phone that's New York City. It's very common that we see that happen. So if you don't have that city, state, zip code on there, it sometimes, I think, can make people think that you may not be in the local area. So my preference is still to keep it on. Now, I am gonna say, I'm not as concerned about zip code, it's more city and state. And if you are one of those people that lives on kind of the outskirts of a city, sometimes it can be beneficial to put the main city, right? So for example, in Houston, Texas, if you live in a suburb of Houston, Texas, like Conroe, you may have to drive in for the role that you do into the larger city of Houston. In that case, you may want to put your blanket area as the Houston, Texas area. I want to talk with you about something else that's on your resume sometimes that I think you should remove. And that's in the US, that's your high school graduation dates. Now, why do I think you should remove this? In the US, high school is a very linear path. You go to kindergarten, you go 1st through 12th, and graduate in the end of the 12th grade. And so it's very easy to work out someone's age back from their high school dates. And because of that, you're giving somebody pretty close the year you were born in. And that is data that, again, is used in identity theft. So I don't recommend you put it on there. Now, there may be times when you get an offer for a job that you do have to fill in that information as part of an application or a background check process, and that's okay, right? Because there you're getting passed and the companies do need that data. But during the process when you're looking for a job, I don't recommend, one, for age discrimination, and two, for the data that you're releasing, that you put that on your resume. The next thing I want you to be aware of to avoid getting your data stolen throughout this process is something that's called password spraying. And password spraying, some studies show, is about 16 to 17% how people get your password. So what is password spraying? It's when individuals take the most common passwords and just try them and see if they work or if they don't work for getting into your different information and data on systems. So what are the most common passwords? I was kind of shocked when I did some research on this and pulled the list of what the top 5 were. Let me share those top 5 with you right now. The number 5 most common password for 2020 is 12345667. I know people are trying to make passwords easy to enter, but that one is crazy easy. Let's look at our number 4. This one you may have guessed already. It is password. The number 3 most common password so far of 2020, which is one that I actually didn't know, is QWERTY. And that is those top 5 letters that you use with your left hand on the keyboard. The number 2 common password for 2020 is 1234567889. And the number 1 most common password for 2020, you may have already guessed, 123456. Now, if your password came up in this list of top 5, please pause the video and go change it now. These would not be great passwords for you to have. Again, all they have to do is spray those different sites with these common passwords and they can get right into your data. So what should you change your password to? Let me give you some guidelines. If your password is 6 lowercase letters, it takes seconds for a hacker to get into it. If your password is 6 lowercase with 1 uppercase, it takes them less than 10 minutes. So what is the current guidelines on what you should do from a password perspective to have the best chance of protecting your data? They say you should have at least 8 characters. And of those 8 characters, 2 should be uppercase letters, 2 should be lowercase letters, and 2 should be numbers. Now, to have the best chance, the remaining 2 should be a non-letter or number character, like an exclamation point or a period or a comma, something that will make it very unique. Now, there are some systems that won't let you put a non-recognized character like a comma or a period in them. So you do have to sometimes go with the limits of the system. But try to at least to stay with those 8 characters, at least 2 of them being uppercase, at least 2 of them being lowercase, and at least 2 being numbers. That will help protect your information better. So we have another video that's coming out that is going to talk about job seeker scams and ways that people try to take advantage of you during this job seeking process. So please make sure, again, you have signed up for notifications so you'll get notified when that video comes out. If this information was helpful to you, please give us that thumbs up. And I'd also ask, please share this information with other job seekers who are in the trenches just like you, trying to find that next great role. Thanks again for watching. We're all in this together.